it's and welcome back to my channel for another bullet journal video. And today is another custom bullet journal setup for the month of June. And as always, if you want to see all the close-ups of the spread, there will be at the end of the video or at the time on the screen right now. So today is the setup for June, and as always, if you cannot read what's on the screen, it's because this setup is in French, so everything is written in French. But enough of that, and let's jump right into this video. So the theme for this month is lanterns, and as it was a custom order, I just did the theme that was chosen. And the color scheme is mostly red with beige and some gray, but the most part is gonna be red. And for this cover page, I just did those lanterns going up from the left corner of the spread to the right upper corner of the spread, and going across the title of the month, which is in the middle of the page. And I actually did this really simple, just the lanterns. I tried not to go into too much details just because I knew that it would take me so long, so I tried to keep it as simple as possible. And also I took obviously reference from pictures that already exist from this theme, so that's what I did. And also I'm sorry for the quality of the video. I was filming this while I was in the hospital. If you have seen a lot of my other setups from this custom order that I made, you probably already know that this summer I was hospitalized, and most of the spreads that I did were done there because I didn't have another choice, knowing that I had to make the journal for a certain date. So this one was obviously done in the hospital, so the quality isn't gonna be as good as other ones. And I had a slight problem with the recording. I think it's the end of this spread and the start of the next one, which will be the calendar spread. But basically at some point the camera just stopped recording. Well, not stopped, but the footage was just pure black and nothing was working. I don't know what happened, and as it was recorded in July, end of July, I can't really do anything about it now. So there will be a cut, I think, about now. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You can see that we are straight onto the end of the calendar spread, so I'm really sorry about that, but there is the close-ups at the end so you can see the full spread a lot more. But basically for this calendar spread, I did spread out boxes for each one of the days, still in a tiny calendar layout, and I did drop shadows alternating between black and red. And all throughout the page I added the lanterns and also the name of the month at the top of the left spread. And then I just added also the numbers in each one of the boxes in the upper left corner, if I'm right. And then that's basically the spread. Because there's not a lot of footage, I can't really talk through, but I did the same kind of lanterns that I did for the cover page, so you've seen how I did it. And then we are already onto the habit tracker, which I did the same layout every single time. It's just 5 tiny calendars for 5 habits, and then I added the initial for each days of the week on top of the column, and then at the top the line of color to put which habit is going to be tracked by which calendar. at the top is written habit tracker, but it doesn't exist in French, so I did daily checkup instead of habit tracker. And then at the bottom, because there's only 5 habits, I had some space to do some bigger lanterns. Generally, I just kept this spread pretty simple, just because it's already pretty charged with just having the calendars once they are filled in. And as you can see on the one of the first ones at the top, my pen smudged completely, which is fine. I used a white jelly roll to correct that later, but I use Uniball eye pens, and I use the micro ones. I usually have some smudging problems with them, but they're honestly the best ones I have because they have a metal tip and they don't get they don't break when using a ruler with it, so that's why there are the ones I still use, even though they're sometimes smudged a lot. Also, for the coloring, I use my Tombow dual brush markers, and all of my supplies will be linked in the description box down below. So if you're interested, you can go check that out. And the journal is a Lightroom 1917, and it was actually my first time using one of those, so I was really happy with it, and it's a little smaller than the one I use, so that's something that I don't like personally. For my own journal, I like it to be a little wider, but it works just fine, and the quality of the paper was super good. I was really impressed. And also there's a little bit more pages compared to the Dingbat notebooks, which is the one I use. So I was able to fit the whole year in one journal compared to me that I have to do 2 journals every year to fit all of the spreads that I want. But back to the actual setup. This is the mood tracker, and I just did hanging lanterns and one for each day. So even when you have 3 in a row, each one is for one day. And honestly, this spread was one that took the longest, and by far it was so long and so tedious to do, but it turned out so good. And honestly, it was worth it, and I loved it so much. I'm so happy with how it turned out. So definitely worth the effort. And then at the bottom there's a key, so there's basically a space for 6 moods, so that's what I was asked to add. So there's just 6 squares with a space in between to write what mood she wants to track, and then you can add the color and fill those colors in the mood tracker. Honestly, that's one of the most useful spread, I would say. If you want to start bullet journaling, that's really like one of the spreads that's the easier and the most beginner friendly. Obviously, you don't have to do as big of a thing as I did, because that's really hard and it asks for a lot of skills, but you can just do really simple things like just circles and fill them in every day if you're really like a beginner and you want to try. So yeah, that's what I did. So we are on to the next spread, and if you have seen all of my previous videos, you probably know that at the end of the mood tracker I usually had a playlist of the month, but we actually didn't add that spread for the last 2 months of the year, so that's why it's not there if you watched all of the other ones. But basically the only thing is that I was running out of room in the journal, and I literally had enough pages except for 2. I was missing 2 spreads, 2 pages, so we skipped the playlist to have enough room in the journal at the end. So that's what we did. So we are already onto the mood tracker, the first weekly spread, and I went and checked which week it was in the future log that I did at the beginning, just because I wasn't sure about the calendar spread, the tiny calendar that I did at the top of the spread. But in the end I just made it, and then you can see I already did the lines for all the days, and then I'm gonna do all of the rest of the lines. I just waited for them to dry up before going in back with the ruler. I basically did 2 columns. On the left side there is 4 boxes, 1 for each one of the days, and then on the other side there's 3 for the end of the week, and then there's a long section at the bottom for school, and then on the side all the space that I had left was just filled with lanterns, and I added a pop of color to put the name of each day in the boxes by just making a red line. So I just did hanging lanterns, except so instead of like having some flying ones like I did the rest of the spreads, just because it was a little bit more logical to do it this way because of the space that I had. So yeah, and honestly it did take some time to color everything in. Sometimes it took definitely a long time. Actually, I think before editing this video was probably one of the longest one that I had. I probably had maybe 3 hours of recording, except one part was completely black, as I said, because of the slight problem I had with the recording. But honestly, 3 hours of footage is really long, so it's probably also one of the longest videos that I have, because it's kind of hard to condense everything into a 15 minutes videos when you have 3 hours of footage. This is the second weekly spread that I did, and I did a layout that I never did before. I did this custom journal, and I actually completely fell in love with it, and that was one of my favorite layouts to do. Basically, from the left to the right, at the top I have 5 rectangles, 1 for each days of the week, and then on the last column I do 2 smaller boxes on top of each other for the weekend, and you can obviously make them bigger, but I was not asked to do so much bigger for the weekend, so that's why it's a little smaller. And then I just added a pop of red at the top of each one and rounded the edges, just because I thought it looked a lot better and a lot less harsh than just having the squares corner. So yeah, I just like it like that a lot better. And then I drew all of the lanterns a little bit everywhere, trying to alternate between all of the shapes just to make it a little bit more interesting. But honestly, that's one was a lot harder for me to try and have some different designs, just because at some point you run out of shapes idea for lanterns, so it's a little bit more boring, I would say, than other things that I've done. But also the colors are amazing. I just love them so much. And yeah, that's it for this weekly spread. So we are on to the third weekly spread, and just to give you guys an idea, there's actually 5 weekly spread, and I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's a journal made for 2022, so that's why it's like that. And yeah, but for this specific layout, I did the same one I did for May, except I did low squares for each one of the days with a drop shadow, and it's basically just spread out, and for each page I divided into 2, and I did at the top on one side and then going down on the other side, and alternated in between, so there's a little bit more room to write. And there's actually 8 sections, so the last one is made for school stuff, and it's actually space, depending on how you do it, you can have a lot more space and room for decor and doodle and stuff like that. So that's why I love this spread so much, just because there's a lot of space to have a lot of things. I actually did use the same layout in my bullet journal for November, and it turned out so good. Also, sorry for the lighting, it went really yellow. I was working as the sun was starting to go down, so in the next clip it should get better because I started again the next day. So yeah, that's basically everything for this spread. So, onto the 4th weekly spread. Oh my gosh, this is so long, I'm so sorry. But for this one, I did another box layout with, I don't think this time I did rounded edges, but I did on the first row, I have 3 and only 1. So there's space for 4 normally, but I only did 3 and had some space to do a tiny calendar. And at the bottom I have 2 more on the left side, and a longer boxes for the weekend with a section lower to that for school, which is just a lot smaller. And then at the top of each box in the middle upper side, I did a lantern, and that's where I put the number for the day, so the date of the day. And underneath the lantern, I added the name of the days. So I just think it looks super cute, and it didn't take that long to make, which was a bonus, at least for me, when I can gain some time. It's always a good thing because most things take so long to do. But yeah, that's basically what I did for this one, and then I colored it in and added all of the numbers for each one of the days. And I have the tiny calendar, and if you're curious, it's SEM is for the short form for weeks in French, and it's 14th because we were starting from the start of the school year and counting each week. And actually this is not, oh, it's 44, sorry for that, I'm too far from my screen to see, but it's week 44 from the start of the school year, so that's why it's this number and not another one. And yeah, that's basically it for this spread. And then we have the last weekly spread, which is gonna be the last one, and then there's only gonna be the close-up left. So sorry again for the long video. I can't really do much better than that, but I hope it's still gonna be okay. So we're moving on to the last weekly spread, and basically it's just a line above the color with the name of the days, and on the left side there is a space for all the events. So it's basically just a column divided into 7, so there's space for every single one of the days to put appointments or events in general. And then there's 2 columns of 4 on one side, 3 on the other, and a longer one at the bottom for schools. So it's kind of similar to the first weekly spread that I did, except there's not like the entire box, but just the line of color. And then I added the name of the days on top of that line of color and school at the bottom. And then on the right side I had some space to add a bunch of lanterns, and on the top of the event section there was just the name of the week and then event written. So pretty simple. Also sorry for the mask popping in the middle. My nurse came in and gave me my new mask at the end as I was working, so I decided to continue working and just I put it somewhere else. But yeah, that's basically it for this spread. There's only me just working on it, coloring it in, and making all the last details. And then you will have all the close-ups, especially for the calendar spread if you want to see a little bit more how it turned out, and the cover page. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, definitely subscribe for more. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!